The light is green. The trap is clean. You're looking back and forth like, are you connecting some gizmos yet?
I'm just checking all my monitors. See. All right, it's not hooking up to Moonstream or Moonbeam, but we are on Twitch.
But not Moonbeam.
No.
Uh-huh.
And let me check one other thing.
I'll entertain Twitch while you're doing that. Hey, Twitch. We're roaming the labyrinth of creativity and connectivity this morning.
Okay, let's...
As you can tell, we haven't streamed in a bit of time. It's been a minute. And there's a new service called Moonbeam, which Dan is a early adopter. And I think they're still working out some bugs.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me check this link.
What's up, cat?
Well, let's do one more thing here. We'll take all this out in post.
Yeah, the editorial team, the video editing team will be all over this.
Exactly. Oh, let's go. All right, it doesn't look like it's going on YouTube either right now. But anyway, let's begin. We're on Twitch.
1 out of 3 ain't bad.
No, not at all. Welcome. It is February 1st, 2025. This is Muses and Muses, roaming the labyrinth of creativity. I'm Dan Taylor, and I'm here with Steve Conley. And we used to get together on a regular basis to discuss how we're roaming the labyrinth of tabletop role-playing game and convention creativity. And we're back. Holidays, vacations, general chaotic life, horrible elections, things like that. Kind of
end of the world, this and that.
A lot of dumpsters burning, but we're back.
Yay!
So what we're going to do is hopefully ease back in to things, get back together once a month. I have missed Steve greatly in our Saturday morning coffees, and we're going to discuss how we both plan on taking over the tabletop role-playing game industry.
You're going to take it over. I'm going to remain in my little cul-de-sac, hidden away from everybody else in the world.
So anyway, Steve, let our new viewers know a little more about you.
My name is Steve Conley. I come from a comic book background and a comic strip background. I'm a web cartoonist. I created the webcomic. Oh, I'm getting an echo. Feedback.
We're fixed.
All right. I'm the creator of the webcomic The Middle Age, which is available to read on Webtoons and Tapas and Go Comics on my own website. And I've, in the last 2 years, have started making TTRPG material. Initially spun out of my comic with a book called Intoximancy, which was my first one, which got an Annie nomination in 2023. And I've got 4 books out now. After Intoximancy, we had Death Dealing, then the Prayer's Handbook for the Metadomain Cleric, and now Nibblemancy. Nibblemancy is available on Drive-Thru-RPG. It's available on my website, digital versions, and I'm waiting on the print copies in the mail to deliver out to my glorious Kickstarter backers. And then I'm cooking up something else. And Dan, you were one of my glorious Kickstarter backers.
I mean, I backed it, but I don't know if I'm glorious.
You're glorious. I mean, look at that beard. Look at that. Look at it. It's glistening.
I use purple shampoo now to bring out the white.
I heard that's a thing.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
We'll see how it goes. I just want to retire and be a Santa Claus.
Fantastic. No, you have to take over the role-playing game world or whatever your scheme is. You have a scheme.
I'm doing that too. I'm always scheming. You know me. I'm always scheming.
I see your nice little office, but I know it's in the middle of like a skull-shaped volcano island.
It is. guarded by a giant, not a giant ape, but a giant monkey. Because everybody has a giant ape. So
Sure.
And being a giant monkey, it only stands 6 feet tall, but it's it's a pretty big monkey.
That monkey feels good about himself. Yeah.
And he's 2 inches taller than me, and he thinks he's the boss, but he's not. I am actually the boss. But
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. So okay, Steve, nice to meet you.
But that's who the hell I am, Dan. Dan, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Who the hell are you?
I am the hella Dan Taylor. I am a performer, producer, showrunner of Dungeons and Dragons actual play comedic entertainment. I wrapped up the 2024 doing a handful of shows, Indianapolis, Nashville, Huntsville, and getting ready for the 2025 convention season, where we'll be doing more shows. And we've got shows planned. I think the next live show is in Huntsville on February 27th.
Awesome.
And then we've got one in Nashville on March 16th.
That's great.
And then the following week, I will be at Gary Con doing 2 shows, Catacombs and Creators, and something I'm calling Death and Glory, which is a traveler show where I'm going to get more tabletop creators, and we're going to just do character creation for Traveler.
That's great.
Because if you remember back in the day in old school, there's a good chance you could die.
Oh yeah.
Making your character. So we're going to make it a competition. The winner will win a plaque to see who survives the most throughout the show.
Fantastic.
Character creation. Now they could die and start a new character, but whatever characters last the longest,
right? That
player, that creator, will win a plaque, and I hope to do it on a regular basis.
That's
at ongoing conventions. But we're going to give it a try at Gary Con first.
That's great. I think because if I remember the mechanic correctly, the idea was your character could start at any point in their life and in their career, and so they could be older, and the older they were, the more experience they had and the more skills they had, and basically the kind of more powerful the character became. Very not in my experience, getting older has not necessarily made me more powerful, but in that game, the older you got, the more powerful your character became. But it came with every couple of years in the timeline increased the chances of fatality, dismemberment, just horror.
Yeah. In the late 70s, early 80s, I played Traveler, but I don't know if I ever played an actual game. It may just be character creation.
All we did was create characters in Traveler. We played Star Frontiers.
yeah, that exactly right. I do love myself some Star Frontiers. Hopefully that makes a legitimate return someday. But anyway, so that'll be fun. I know for the what did I call it? Death and Glory?
I think so.
Yeah.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. I've got Sarah Babe from the D&D Encounter show performing on that, and I've got John Kovalik.
Amazing.
Who's a huge Traveler fan. So if I didn't invite him, I think he would have worked some way to have me eliminated. And then at Gary Con, the Catacombs and Creator show featuring the Dungeons and Dragons, I've got Sarah and John, and joining on this is Tommy Gofton and Mr. Ed Greenwood.
It's great.
So that should be a hoot. I think that's how I advertised it when I posted on the Gary Con.
That it would be a hoot?
Board. It would be a hoot. Yeah. So
owl bears is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, we use foul boars.
Foul boars. Do foul boars hoot?
No, they gobble, gobble oink kind of thing.
Fair enough.
They goink. Because I can't say they obble. I don't know. But yeah, so that's the deal there. I'm very looking forward to Gary Con, because not only do I have those 2 shows, but every morning I signed up to Dungeon Master Kids.
That's awesome.
Nobody over 12. I got to remember that I'm on, I'm DMing kids and not on the Catacombs Comedian stage, so I don't drop a bunch of F-bombs.
Right, but you can use bigger words.
Exactly. And I'm going to do a special version of the Flagons Fungin
Excellent.
for that, and create a little module that all the kids will get to take home, and all the kids will also get to take home a fluorescent skeleton plushie, because if they kill it in the game, they get to keep it. So I plan on, and I'm gonna whoever signs up for it, their kids to do it, I'm going to introduce myself to them beforehand via email and say, okay, this is what it is. Do I need to worry?
Sure.
Is your kid deathly afraid of peanuts? Can I not have the peanut monster or whatever? So I'm going to be responsible at this. But I ran the idea past Luke at Gen Con last summer, and he liked the idea, so I went ahead and did it. I'm just trying to get in good graces with the Gary Con people. I'm going to be a guest someday at some convention. I don't know which one, but I'm working on it.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. That was I think it was that Tommy Goff you mentioned. That was a part of his bucket list, and he had an achievement he unlocked last year, which was pretty cool. Yeah.
So I'm getting in good. I think. I mean, it makes your day when Ed Greenwood, replies to a message on your phone and it pops up, or Luke Gygax. So
that's lovely.
So yeah, so that's all. Even though you and I have been quiet on the streaming front and not actually getting a chance to chat about all this sort of stuff that we're doing, but things have been active behind the scenes here at Zero Level Media HQ.
That's fantastic. I see your posts. I see every once in a while. I'm not on the social media as much. I'm one of the folks who's left Twitter.
I do too.
But I haven't been posting on Facebook that much. I've been so swamped with work in January that I have not been just not posting as much. But I'm trying to cook up something. Zine Quest in Kickstarter, which is I think one of the things that kind of helped gel us both in this, certainly gelled me in this space. I think you had created DM's Guild and Drive Through RPG things going back years and years, little splashes here and there.
Because I don't have the attention span to do anything.
Well, but you always have multiple plates spinning, so you do that, then you would do comics or God knows what else. I'm sure you're in a band. Buckaroo Banzai, and but it was Zine Quest. But so Zine Quest this year, it started. It's now Zine Quest. Happy Zine Quest to you, Dan. But now there's an application. It's not just use a URL or click a button. So you have to submit a form. So I've not yet done that because I feel until every one of my books has shipped, I don't want to. I don't want Kickstarters to overlap. So,
but you do have one planned for this Zine Quest.
I have another subclass book ready to, I just have to get that placeholder page live, but I just, so over this weekend, I'm juggling some big design projects, but as soon as I have a breather, I'm going to get back to work on a cover for another zine project. Hopefully it'll be part of Zine Quest. Hopefully they don't mind if I launch in week 4. But that would happen last year. I think there were people who had the Zine Quest tag and they launched it in like the end of March. So it's weird, but
I was actually, because I'm like, okay, I got too much going on. I'm not going to do a Zine Quest.
Sure.
But when you know it, yesterday at work during my day job, I'm like, oh, I got an idea for a zine. Let me do it. And so I got as far as starting to fill out the app and working on an image for it. And I go, Dan, no, stop. You just got too much going on right now. Just
look at you.
Don't do it.
Well, I mean, you do have so many. I mean, if people go back and watch the videos from last year, there's going to be a ton of, like we talked about all the different burners. You have stuff cooking up all the time. Quest Zine, the city. What's the name of the city?
Warnhold.
You've got Pirate Tales. You've got 4D20. You've got just tons and tons of things cooking. It's going to be, I get the sense it's one of these things where these things are all happening, and then they're going to come together. They're going to come to a boil at once. And then there's going to be this flurry of activity coming out from you. And how do you do it all? And it's like, well, you have these things slow simmer for 5 years or a year, and then they all come to a boil and they're all out there. So I'm excited for I love when you present something new. But I mean, given your convention schedule this year, because GaryCon's just the first, right?
Yeah, right now I'm signed up for GaryCon, Gen Con, and I'll be at Gamehole Con, of course.
That's great. I'm not. I don't know. I don't think I'll be at Gamehole Con this year.
Really?
It's my favorite. It's my favorite game show. It's the gaming show. It's the only one I've done, but it's the same weekend as Baltimore Comic Con, where I am a guest, and where they do bring me out, and I feel like as a responsible small business, there really is no comparison between an event where, you know, your move game whole con match their offer. You know what I mean? And that's not going to happen in the gaming space for me yet, because people don't know who I mean. I am so low on the totem pole of gaming. I have a lovely devoted following of amazing supporters and readers, but it's niche, and people are very happy to be fans of this incredibly small garage band that I put together. But I'm not a headliner. So, and the thing is as well that I have to realize is that the list of headliners in the gaming space, they're, because D&D's only 50, comics are like a bazillion years older. In the gaming space, D&D's only 50, and the people who made it were like teenagers, the Jeff D's and Errol Otises of the world, and the Zeb Cook, dude, they're barely, they're getting close to retirement age, but they're not old. So the list of stellar guests is through the roof. Not to mention all the young actual play people who have like millions of followers, and who actually will move the attendance needle by showing up. You bring a Matt Mercer to a show, or a Robbie Damon, or a somebody like that, and they'll sell more tickets. So that's like, so as from a practical standpoint, I know where I am. So if I'm going to be a guest somewhere, I won't live long enough. But you're a celebrity. You're hobnobbing, and people, and they love you, and now you're helping kids play D&D. I was in that crowd where you handed out that starter kit to somebody, and you're on the right path.
I hope so, and I appreciate the kind words, and we'll see. I'm having a blast do this, and honestly, I'm what's the word I'm looking for? Where you're obsessed. I'm obsessed with creating this sort of stuff and working on this sort of stuff, and so that's why I've got so many plate spinning and so many burners, because I'm all over the place. I want to do everything, and it's hard to reel in and not try to do everything, to sacrifice quality over quantity.
How do you organize a work week? Is it well, because that's a thing. Like, I have a to-do list, and it's prioritized almost always based on, like, is it like, well, GaryCon's here, that's a fixed date, so that GaryCon things have to be done X number of days, weeks before GaryCon. So that is solid. But Warren Holt, 4020, those have kind of like, they're ready when they're ready, right? They're things where when you love it, and do you fall out of love with projects?
Oh yeah.
So there's something that will be you're into it, and you go, this is gonna be my thing. And then 6 months later, you're like, nah, no.
Put you back in the drawer and pull something else out, or start a new one.
Gotcha.
I don't throw anything away. I don't give up on any of my projects. I just put them on sabbatical.
Right.
And
so, because at one point, I think high on the list was a quasi sci-fi Western. Right? There was at one point it was a sci-fi Western?
Fantasy Western.
That was I think it was at the time you were doing the sci-fi comic. I think I conflated them a little bit. Is that something you're like, well, 4020 is clearly, if I'm going to spend my time building a game, 4020 has gotten a greater reaction. So like a flame, you're going to lead toward the light.
Yeah, 4020 is definitely a big thing. That is going to officially launch April 20th.
That's going to, so it's not so it's going to launch on April 20th.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm putting a set date on that. Um,
All right.
and just I got to get that out the door. I got to, I basically just for the most part, the mechanics are 66% figured out. They're not a lot to it. It's not a huge, game. So, I mean, the rule book's going to be a 20-page book.
That's it.
Yeah, because I'm doing 4 books of 20 pages each.
Amazing.
A player's book, like a DM's book, a setting book, and a creature book.
That's great.
Because it's 20 20-page books, and they all come in together. And that way I can, if one player can buy the whole thing and then buy extra players' handbooks, So I got this all figured out. Instead of dice tray, we're going to have rolling trays that are dice trays, and it's all in the works. And the mechanics for the most part, now I'm to the part where I'm mostly writing fluff and modifying the mechanics to fit the fluff.
That's awesome.
If that makes sense,
Totally. Absolutely.
Because so that my goal is to launch that 420. I'm still working on the D20 day campaign.
That came out of nowhere. I didn't even know about that. Like
that's just I want December 20th to be a day of recognition for the 20-sided dice. It makes sense. And so there's a petition on change.org where I've got 128 signatures. I need thousands of signatures. So
I love that you know exactly how many signatures are there.
I looked this morning.
That's amazing.
And I've kind of tied it in because right now I currently have a backer kit going. I'm participating in Pintopia again.
Oh, how's that going?
I've hit my goal, but it was a minor goal. Because then basically I'm doing my rolling D20, the logo for Catacombs Comedians.
Sure.
I'm doing a larger version of that.
Cool.
That's the basic dice. And then I've got a gold-plated version or an antique gold. That's not real gold, but,
Gold color.
Yeah. And then to tie in the D20 day, I'm offering stickers and buttons because it's, 20-sided dice. If you go sign, if the petition gets 220 signatures before the end of the campaign, then everybody will get a sticker and button.
That's great.
But like I said, I'm at 128 and I got 13 days to go on this thing. Have you signed the petition yet?
No.
Okay.
I don't even think I have a change.org account. You need an account?
No, you just put in your name and email.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is there is Pintopia a thing where you're partnering with somebody again? And did you find a good partner or did they partner you up?
No, I think I threw it like they do a lot of talk on Discord with this backer kit projects, and then they say, "Okay, here's my project." So I said, "Oh, that sounds, it sounds like it would be a good fit." And I just went, "Okay, let's do it."
Yeah, well, I think when I saw D20, you shared it, and I thought, "Oh, that's interesting that somebody's doing that, and that Dan is sharing it." And then I'm like, Dan shared it again, and then Catacombs of Comedian shared it. Like that, Dan is really behind this project. Like. Dan is behind this project. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's my project.
Okay.
Because it's easy. I mean, I have the smaller versions already. I just said, okay, let's make bigger versions. And I need more for merch stock anyway.
That's smart.
So it's just, I just want to keep it's just another way to get Catacombs Comedians' name out there. I mean, I've only got like 27 backers right now, so it's not huge.
You mentioned about doing Pintopia last year about being able to roll those people into future projects. Are you seeing that kind of repeat? I've never crowdfunded on BackerKit. Do you get to see, Charlie has backed you or that sort of thing? Okay, good.
Yeah, but I really haven't put the emphasis on, I've got some return backers from my last Pintopia are in on this Pintopia.
Did you use BackerKit launch?
Yeah.
And do you like that?
I do. I like it fine. Yeah. It doesn't have it may not have the traffic that Kickstarter has, but I find that the support seems friendlier.
Okay.
And encouraging.
That's great.
The encouragement in this group has been great by the people at BackerKit running it.
So you're like you're in a Pintopia Discord or a Facebook group or something?
Discord, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
And they're very they set you deadlines. You got to have this, you got to have your teaser page up by here. You got to have your partner by here. You got to have, be ready for the launch on here,
Right.
And then they review it and they give you suggestions on how you can make it better.
That's lovely. That's lovely. And did you find their advice helpful?
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Like, oh yeah, okay, I needed to add this link here or that, and it's little stuff like search engine optimization, as well as how to steer pledgers into more profitable tiers that you may have or whatever, and where to put your featured as opposed to the, and they gave me a nice email saying, okay, we reviewed it, here's some suggestions. Boom, 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 boom.
That's great.
And I did the suggestion, okay, and I emailed them back to say, okay, I did it, and then they said, okay, you're good to go.
That's great.
So
That's great.
So, and then I didn't want to put a lot of effort into this campaign either, and that I don't know if that came out right, but it's just
no. The making the product great is one thing, but there are some campaigns require more effort and some don't.
And there are some beautiful Pintopia campaigns, and they've got all sorts of things and tiers and different versions, and I'm like, nope, you just get this. This is all I want,
Get the pin, yeah.
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 They're also doing plushies with this one too, and I go, no, there's no plushies. Just
I got reached out by have you seen Makeship? They have they do crowdfunding of plushies essentially.
Yes.
And I guess they have a bunch of competitors now, and one of their potential competitors reached out to me to do one for my webcomic, and I'm like, I don't know this. They don't have a huge track record. It's just one of these ones where it's like, is this legit? Is this, I don't even know if they've had a successful. I keep looking at their site for any successful campaigns. I don't think they've had one, but it feels like they want to leverage the audience of us. Like someone who's starting up wants my audience to go to their site and buy things. I feel like I don't know. I'm sure you've had this happen throughout your comic career. Somebody wants to partner up with you because of superhero happy hour, and they're like, why? Why would I partner with you?
Yeah, I did have some of that, and kind of my, what's the word? Naivety.
Mm-hmm. Naivete.
Yeah, I'd go, sure,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm much more. No, we got to,
Yeah, I some part of me is like, well, I'm not making plushes. I don't want to make plushes just because, again, it's a storage thing. The problem with plushes is they take up a lot of space. They don't weigh much, but they take up so much room that the idea of someone else creating them, I don't even know if they're going to be good quality. I have no idea. I just don't want to end up getting this kind of mutant version of my character sent out to people.
Rolling Laughing D20 plush would be cool.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's got like weird googly eyes that just look wrong, or it's got like spines. eye poking action.
It'd be pretty basic, to do, but it's another.
Yeah, I'll let one more thing for the to-do list. Another burner.
Throw that aside, because this weekend, since today's February 1st, I'm gonna get my Patreon together.
Okay.
And get that rolling, just to have a base of operations and sort of have that be a depository of things I'm working on to answer, and provide it as content. Because I got tons of content I can throw up already.
Right.
Like I'm going to offer, since the audio book of Pirate Tales didn't successfully fund.
It didn't?
No.
Was it close?
I don't even remember.
But you paid to have it already done?
Oh yeah, I have it. It just that I was hoping to get my money back through the crowdfunding, but it didn't happen. So, I mean, I'm going to release it someday.
Are audiobook Kickstarters or crowdfunding campaigns successful? I have known nothing about that space.
I have no idea. Do I do research, Steve?
Who has time? I got to get these things out. I got a pin to make. I got stuff to stuff.
So, I'll throw up a chapter a month on there.
Cool.
As well as the PDF I could do a chapter a month. So that's 10 months of content right there.
That's great.
and then I'm going to put Catacombs of Comedian stuff, little bits here and there and stuff like that, as well as War and Hold, and the behind the scenes look at 4D20 will be up there, and that sort of thing. Just again, not looking to make money, just trying to get that audience built.
Right.
The money's nice, but I'm not going to be able to retire and earn a living off Patreon or my YouTube channel or
Your audiobook royalties.
Yeah. I think I made a Pirate Tales came out last year around, what was it, March, April, something like that. Maybe I made $60.
That's like a couple of pizzas.
Yeah, well, after spending $2,000 putting it together,
Yeah. But but the thing is, it's done, it's finished, and it becomes a crowdfunding thing, and it becomes an add-on for future projects, and it can make money forever.
So, and I still sell a copy or two at every show at a comedy club, as well as conventions. So
yeah, I'm a big fan of finishing it and then having it forever and then selling it forever, unless it confuses your table display. That was the thing that I've had. I did a comic convention earlier this year, Central Florida Comic Con. It was really interesting. I had done it last year, and I found that it was not as comic-y. It's not in a very well heeled town or county in Florida. The town's not rolling in money. So conventions like that tend to have everything has to be a little bit less expensive, and but I didn't lower my prices. Normally in this situation I would do that, but I'm at a point where I can't. I feel like the margins are too slim as it is now. But the convention did very well for the gaming side of things. The D&D stuff was very popular. I sold some of my graphic novels, collections of my webcomic, but the game stuff was excellent. I'm really excited about it. I was worried about the reaction to Dungeons and Dragons in general. Last year being the 50th anniversary, we were really excited for it, but we're coming off of a lot of people who are down on Dungeons and Dragons, down on WotC, down on Hasbro. They were excited for Tales of the Valiant.
Yeah,
it's Tales of the Valiant, right? Tales of. It's not. I don't even think it has a name on the spine.
Black Attack Roleplay.
TOV. There are, like, even my D&D group is playing Tales of the Valiant. So and the reviews of 2024 are the intelligentsia by and large have problems with it because it was either not a big enough swing or too big a swing. It was either too beholden to, because like 5e is great. Basically because 5e 2014 was great, and it seems to be a concession that WotC thinks so too, since they didn't want to deviate from it all that much. So that anything they did deviate from, people are kibitzing about, and because it wasn't a full, so it was kind of this half step. So I understand the complaints about that. But I was worried that there would be less excitement for D&D. But I think the audience, by and large, the community of players, by and large, is still on board.
I do too. I mean, apparently, it's the Player's Handbook's been the fastest selling product they've put out. The new Player's Handbook.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Which is different than saying it's been the most successful as far as money, because I used to buy advanced D&D books for $20 back in the day, as opposed to $60 now. So
sure.
So it's doing well, and generally, I think it's the squeaky wheel gets the most. Sure.
The anguished YouTube thumbnail gets the.
Yeah, so I think that because nobody's going. If you're happy with the game, which I am, I've been fine with 2024. I haven't played too much of it, but it didn't. Oh, I can't stand this. And it's not like, I'm not going to complain about, they changed this one thing in the monk so that now it's broken, I don't care, use what you like, use what you don't. I never play by the rules completely anyway.
Right. I think, like weapon abilities, people really like that each weapon has a different, essentially, side effect.
Yeah.
And people who are martial classes dig it. Dungeon masters think, one more nightmarish thing for uh, min maxers to find a way to have a multiplying effect. Like, okay, this one will grapple the person, meaning there'll be a disadvantage for the next thing. I get that. I get that. Like, the dungeon master's job is hard enough already.
But see, I don't play with min maxers unless it's Ed Greenwood.
Right.
For the most part, and I don't worry. It's the rule of cool in my games.
Right.
And I think our age, your age, my age, I'm a little bit older than you. And we're kind of from the grognard genre, the group. Generation. That's what, not genre, generation. So the people we tend to encircle are down on D&D just because it's not their D&D. For the most part. That's my feeling.
I guess so. My group is playing Tales of the Valiant. I was playing with somebody else the other day. We're playing Tales of the Valiant because my dungeon master primarily was down on Hasbro's shenanigans. They were so down on it. They were like, let's just play Tales of the Valiant. They didn't want to give their money. I think this might be the 5e 2024 Player's Handbook was the first Player's Handbook I ever bought. It's the I came back after 25 years, 30 years of not playing D&D into 5e. I slipped right into it, loved it. I really like 5e a lot. But 5e 2024 comes out. The first one I buy is the now that I'm actually making material in that world. It's weird that I didn't own any of their. I've made more books than I've purchased.
I wish I could say the same.
But now I've caught up. But I picked up 2020. But my dungeon master, game master has. This is like the first one he hasn't bought, and but we're playing TOV. So there is that crowd of people who are. It's not because the game is different. It's not because the rules are different. It's because of the. I don't know, a modern sense of wanting to feel moral kinship with the companies you work with and purchase from. You want to feel good about the company you're giving your money to. And I feel like in terms of picking my battles, Hasbro doesn't even rate in the top billion villains in my world. But for in terms of my friends picking his battle, he's picked that one. So we play TOV because again, it's still 5e.
Yeah.
To me, so far, all it is a funhouse version of 5e. Everything's a little bit different. Everything's just a little. It's almost like going to England. Yeah, it's English, but there's an OU for the word color. You know, it's just everything's a little weird. But it's still 5e, so I don't know. But anyway, but in terms of when I was at convention, D&D is still great. My solution for you can't say Dungeons and Dragons on your books because at least the old OGL said you couldn't. You know, I think we could include it on our books in a way like the way medicine will say the same exact ingredients as Tylenol. Tylenol is a registered trademark of So we could do the same thing, compatible with Dungeons and Dragons, registered trademark, and then a small print, you know, WotC, Hasbro, blah, blah, blah. But I put this on my table, a 3D printed sign that lights up that just said Dungeons and Dragons. So people know from a distance D&D, and they came over, had a little light up D12 or something like that, D20. And that was enough to bring people over to the table. And
I need one of those for back here.
Do you? You have so much stuff back there.
I'll move stuff.
I love it. I just noticed that is that a D12 made of wood on top of the skull?
It's a calendar.
That's awesome.
It's supposed to be on my desk, but there's not enough room on my desk right now. And a girl at work gave it to me for Christmas. So
brilliant. Is it wood burned? It is.
So it's got all 12 months.
I love it.
Yeah. She's got to buy me one every year now, but
that's great.
No, as far as, you know, again, we talked previous episodes, we've talked all about the WotC's decisions and battles and the uproars and this and the boycotts and this and that and that and that. I guess I never felt as butthurt over it because it may have been that having worked with IDW and working on the Transformers line, I worked with Hasbro and I understand how the sausage is made.
Right. You expected a corporation to do corporate things.
Yeah, and it's not pretty.
Yeah.
So fine. And I don't know. Maybe it's a bit unfair to put this much pressure on a corporation.
I don't feel that way. To me, I felt vindicated because we won.
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, exactly. I don't feel sorry for Hasbro. I'm like, oh no, they're hurting.
Yeah, as soon as 5e went into the Creative Commons, I'm like, well, you can't shake me off this point. Great. This is where I'm making my home. 5e, it's Creative Commons. Fine, I'll play with it forever.
No, and I agree. I don't see myself concentrating too much on another system just because 5e now is there and it's established. It's got its own. And there are people who will never buy my stuff or come to my show because I am Dungeons and Dragons centric for the most part. And that's fine. The show's not for them. No big deal. I'm not going to bend or, I'm not going to make a stage show on Shadow Dark because,
Yeah, or Savage Worlds or Pathfinder. It's just, you've got to pick one.
And D&D has the name recognition. So.
And that's kind of it. Like and I understand where a lot of people are coming from in the other way. And that is a lot of YouTube folks are like, well, it has name recognition because we're out there promoting it. Because you're doing if you did a comedy show in a comedy club that said, a bunch of comedians, we're going to play role-playing games. I still feel like in terms of in market penetration. Oh, did I freeze? Oh, market penetration. People don't know what a role-playing game is. That phrase doesn't mean anything to most people. So TTRPG is a phrase we use, but again, I don't think that has.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. D&D means something. So, I mean, I guess if you said fantasy role-playing, it's getting there, but it's still, some people will think that's BDSM or something. I feel like there's not a good term. So I don't know. I felt like Critical Role had a chance when we're a bunch of nerdy voice actors who play Dungeons and Dragons. Like if at some point they said we're a bunch of nerdy ass voice actors who play role-playing games, that would help with Critical Role's audience. That would teach millions of people a different phrase, perhaps. But I don't know how we can, because a ton of YouTube channels, ones I watch, at least from time to time, they've said no more D&D for them. They're absolutely done with it. And I don't know. Because we won, I still feel like that's. I was with them, and a lot of those communities were anti-WotC and Hasbro before the OGL thing. When the OGL thing happened, suddenly they found a lot of people on their team who were also like, manning the ramparts. But when we won, I'm like, okay, cool. This is where we belong. We've liberated 5e from Hasbro. Let's not abandon it. Anywho, that's me rambling. Sorry.
I mean, I would rather, as a content creator, get in good with Wizards of the Coast and D&D rather than alienate them. And so that's the choice I have made, and that's the choice I'm going to go. Every time a new game comes out, I'm like, okay, is this going to be the one where I can jump on it? I worked on the Shadow Dark thing for a while, and I still got to put it out just because I invested so much into it. But it's not the game for me. Really, it's Mork Bork, oh, this would be fun to make creative stuff for. Again, not the game for me, really.
You didn't gel. It didn't vibe with you or something.
Yeah, just not. And D&D has an advantage because it's the first game I played, and I played it for almost 50 years. 47 years or something like that.
And did you play every version of D&D along the way?
Yes.
And even though some of them were radically different, did you ever feel a disconnect from D&D?
No.
It always felt like D&D to you, no matter what the system was.
Yeah, and some have been better than others. Fourth edition. But like when I knew this, okay, let's see what this has to offer me. I don't see myself ever going, if I go to a con, okay, we're running first edition, I'm not gonna sign up for it. It was a great part of my life then, as was second edition, as was third edition, as was 3.5. Fourth, not so much. Fifth has been a great part of my life because of Catacombs and Comedians. So I have an affiliation and an affection for Dungeons and Dragons over anything else. I still buy way too many games than I'll ever play, but I'm just, every book or every PDF I buy, I just basically buy it to see if there's that one little nugget of inspiration in there to give me for my own games.
Okay, so we touched on this before. So you'll pick up a book, I don't know, One Ring from, let's say that was, who did the One Ring?
Cubicle?
What's that?
7 Cubicle? Cubicle 7?
No. Boy, they're huge. Well, so I pick a game, Blade Runner. You buy Blade Runner. How often will you crack open that book? How is it? Is there a thing that you're looking for in it? Is it just what is it about that? And how do you decide which games you're going to get and which ones you're not going to get? What is it about it? Is it because it's a fantasy genre? Is it because it's a property that you like?
All right, Blade Runner, good example. I bought it. I kickstarted. I part of it. I got the book. One of the first people to get the book. I've never cracked it open.
But having it, that was it. Because also there are some people who are collectors.
Yeah, it scratched the niche. And also it was a license that I love.
Right.
Same with the Planet of the Apes book coming out. I don't know if I'll ever play the Planet of the Apes game, but I got it. Monty Python is another good example.
Right.
So Adventure Time, their stuff. I love these licenses and I want to see how they put it in, but that's not to say that I actually play it or do it. But yeah, most books I never even open up.
Okay.
I just, I keep thinking someday.
Right.
I got a lot of somedays in my future.
Right. Because you could get the PDF.
Yeah.
Just look through it, but you want that physical thing. You want because at some point it's also the shopping bug. It's also that kind of like, I bought something. I feel good about this. I can go about doing something else.
Yeah, it's very therapeutic. Because back in the old days, I played way more games. Because right now I just pretty much play D&D.
Right.
That's it. Back in the old days, when I played Dungeons and Dragons, I played Gamma World, I played Star Frontiers, I played, Faz's Star Trek, I played,
right,
Champions, I played, Villains and Vigilantes, I played
Marvel, yeah,
Indiana Jones. I got them all, and I tried them all. Now I'm just like, I'll just get it to have it for the most part. Or I've heard good things about it. I'm gonna go ahead and pick it up because I see it now,
right,
and maybe down the line it'll offer me something.
Right.
Like I'm looking right here. I got Knave. I haven't played that, but it was a good product put together nicely. I'll go and also it's a support thing of independent games. A lot of the stuff I will just to support.
I'd be interested in hearing if I know David Peterson on his Twitch channel would have a thing where it's like if someone donated X number of bits or whatever the fake currency is for watching videos, grab a book off the shelf and talk about it. I'd be really interested in hearing from you, what you got out of Planet of the Apes, Knave. What was it? What was it like flipping through the book? What did it tell you? It could be something as simple as Shadow Dark of being like, man, black and white can look really good. Yeah. There was, right? You don't have to do full color printing to do something that looks amazing.
Yeah. No, and and hopefully I'll have my Shadow Dark Cthulhu project done because I paid for a bunch of art and I just pretty much got to stand at the monsters and see if the guy who's writing an adventure for me wrote the adventure.
So there's always so much. So for play testing, what do you do? No play testing?
I don't play test.
It's all theory crafting. It's always or is the idea that you can't make things foolproof because fools are so ingenious that the idea that as soon as I build this hammer and hand it to somebody, they're going to do something wrong with it. So,
I mean, playtesting, if I was a major corporation or a big publisher, I would playtest more often. I'd playtest my project. But here's a reason why I might have all these books. Rather than, I'm not going to say waste my time playtesting, but rather than dedicate time to do as much playtesting instead of just creating.
Sure.
I say this sort of thing that I came up with is kind of like this thing. How did these other games handle this thing?
I see.
And I could just go to that page and go, okay, they did it that way, and they did it that way. All right, I'll add that element and that element to the way I want to do it.
Right. So X number of games have a corruption tracker that it's radiation or eldritch magic that slowly turns your character, and you look at all of them and say, okay, how do they handle that over the course of a campaign or over the course of an adventure? Sure.
And how could I steal that, mold it, and make it fit for my game? And if I change it enough to be creative, but I don't fix what ain't broken. I figure if they've play tested and it work, it's going to work for me.
Gotcha. That's kind of that easy way of making a monster in D&D is you just take the stat blocks that exist and you change the damage from like cold to fire or fire to thunder or something like that.
No, and I'm much more of a fluff than a crunch guy anyway.
Gotcha. If
I had a partner who handled all the crunch and I just handled the fluff, I would create so much more stuff.
You speak like every artist. Jack Kirby handled the fluff and Stanley took care of the crunch. And,
I like the creative aspect. I'm like, I got this great idea for this small bluish glowing medallion that is actually a moon from another plane. And
but I think playtesting, don't you want to see I guess you get to see that during the actual plays, during Catacombs and Comedians and Catacombs and Creators, where you get to see your creation, in the wild, out in the world. To me, the reason I playtest is to see those things and to have that experience before I necessarily put it in the hands of the unsuspecting public.
See, with my shows, it's the fluff that's going to get the reaction.
Right.
The spell Billy is going to get the reaction, not the crunch of the spells that the spell Billy can cast. And in fact, crunch brings the show down.
I understand that. But there's a part of me is like, there was an after school special when I was a kid for younger viewers. An after school special was a TV show, a series of TV shows that appeared infrequently, like on ABC in the afternoons after school. That was back when there was only 3 channels. So anyway, there was one. I think it was based on a children's book. It was called The Kid Millionaire, and it was about a kid who made toothpaste, and he decided to make his own toothpaste. He was tired of toothpaste tasting terrible, so he decides to make his own toothpaste, and he hits it big. Everybody loves his toothpaste. They start buying it, and then there's I think there's a lawsuit because it's got and they bring him to and say, well, what kind of fluoride do you have? And the kid's like, fluoride. The kid's like, he didn't know anything about it. To me, I feel like creating my first few RPG books, I feel like, I have a good idea to make it taste good, but I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about fluoride or, it's basically a jar full of jelly that you're brushing your teeth with. I don't know. I feel like I'm ill-equipped for parts of what I'm doing.
There are creators that love that part.
Who like the chemistry of it.
Yeah. Who like the schematics and, break down the engine and rebuild it from scratch and do all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
I'm like, the engine's built. Let me just put some, a new paint job on it.
Right.
And, some of those fin things in the back and maybe some flames and.
Even calling them fin things. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
And an Alpine stereo in there, and I'm set. Everybody's going to love it. Sure. I mean, the car's been invented,
right?
But I want the Lamborghini, type of thing.
That's great. That's great.
So, Yeah, I'm not gonna. That's why I like 5e so much. It's simplified enough and it's easy, and you can do anything with it for the most part.
But you haven't had people who picked up like your Monstrous Menagerie and said, "Is that that's what it's called, right? Monstrous Menagerie."
No,
Oh
Oddity
no,
off print.
Oddity off print. Where did I get Monstrous Menagerie from?
Uh,
Anyway, so Oddity off print. So people bought Oddity off print. There it is, glorious. They didn't go, I must quibble with your CR rating. You didn't get any of that?
no, because I got 4 people bought it. And...
The first thing I did when I shared it to Reddit was a bunch of, I believe, slide rules came out. And I was told that my CR ratings were...
I don't go to Reddit. It scares me.
Yeah, they quickly assessed that I had pulled some of the numbers from my keister. But I feel like CR ratings are the one of the things that I can only determine by playtesting, because they're mostly nonsensical. Like as soon as you change fire damage is so well resisted and so well understood, but you change it to force damage and suddenly it's way more powerful. Or you give something a 5-foot flying speed and suddenly it's attacking players from above and all they can do is jump up and down with their swords and do nothing. They're throwing things at it. I feel like this, you make a thing infinitely more deadly with this the slightest tweak. And I feel like, you know, there's a animated sword. There's an animated, that was called animated weapon.
Yeah.
It's like a quarter CR. And I think it'll wipe out most parties. I think it, because it flies and has a massive speed.
I don't even know if they're relying on CR so much more in 2024.
I don't know. The initial reviews of the monster manual are just coming out.
Yeah.
And the biggest takeaway for me is what I've seen is stuff like, this creature is a spellcaster and it uses wisdom as its spellcasting ability. And then you go down to the section where it says it casts a spell. It casts this spell using its spellcasting ability. Like it's written with variables all over the place. It can attack within range of the spell. Like, so now I got to look up the spell and wait, what's his spellcasting ability? Oh, it says that up here. And I feel like it's everything is a pointer to something else. Because it was so complicated, they wanted to just include the variable and don't include the actual thing. I don't know. My latest book, Nibblemancy, there's a creature in it called a critical role, ROL. It's a little roll. It's a little bun that has teeth, and it just does the vicious mockery over and over again to creatures within range. And I just wrote, I didn't say just do vicious. I could just say sure, vicious mockery. Or I could just include the spell information in the stat block. Why make people look it up? It's in the Creative Commons. Why make anybody look it up? You know. So
I think they wanted to make the stat blocks less intimidating, and by doing that,
maybe I feel like they were trying to bulletproof it, because I totally respect that, because I do that too. Like a spell, when you're writing a spell and you say the range is 120 feet. Any target you can see within range, like the range because you could say within 120 feet, but you've included the range. So I understand, because it's so much easier to change it in one place versus if you have to change it in 4 places. I totally get that, because that's how the typos sneak in. Wasn't there iWizard was the search and replace mistake in a D&D book. It had iWizards everywhere because at some point they were called mages, and someone did a search for a mage and replaced it with wizard, and so all images became iWizards. It's that sort of thing where you worry about search and replace causing more problems than it solves. Anyway, I'm rambling.
That's hilarious. And now I want to do an iWizard. You know, a robot that has a bunch of eyes on it. They can see in the future and the past, and then the alternate. You know,
it's the app, or it's just Apple as a startup sound.
Yeah. No. So I guess that's where we are. You know,
it's gonna be a good year. I think it's gonna be. I mean, the world's on fire, but in terms of our little cul-de-sac of creativity, I think we're good.
Yeah, I'm just gonna concentrate, put my head down, put my nose to the grindstone, and work on my stuff, and to escape from this dumpster fire that we live in.
Yeah, I poke my head up every once in a while and yell angrily, and then go back to work. 'Cause that's the solution to every problem is just work harder.
Yeah. Well, okay. Or go to sleep.
Yeah, that's not no. The solution is work harder. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a solution for some people. Maybe it's a way to get through the day
As long as you're doing what you like, right? And I happen to like D&D, so
and sleep.
and sleep. I like that a lot.
That was one of my favorite things. Tim Burton. It's very un-Hollywood of him during an interview. What do you like to do when you're not working? Sleep. Like very un-Hollywood thing to say. You're supposed to say, I like to be creative. I like to sleep. I like to sleep. I love it.
All right. I think we've rambled on for an hour.
Fantastic.
That was a quick hour.
We're gonna talk next week.
I hope so.
All right.
Let's do that. All right. Hey, if you're still sticking with us or watching us later, we appreciate it. We will be back on a more regular schedule 2025 because we're taking over the world.
You're taking over the world from your island lair. Where can people find you online, Dan Taylor?
You're my pinky to my brain. You can basically find me at catacombsofcomedians.com. And then as far as social goes, I am on Blue Sky and Instagram still, and both Catacombs Comedians and myself individually. Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook.
And how much longer on your Pintopia?
February 13th it runs out.
Cool beans.
So it is what it is. Hopefully, I can, because I broke $1,000 with the last one, and that pretty much paid for all the pins. So if I can get, because I had like a $450 goal, and I've at $477 now. So
is Pintopia doing well this year?
Yeah, it's made almost $1.5 million over everybody participating.
Wow, that's great. Are there a lot more participants this time?
I'm not sure, but there are only 8 of them haven't reached their goal out of well, I think I can look it up real quick. I was
wondering if, because of the success of it last year, if it brought in more people and if that somehow diluted the excitement or diluted the amount of money. It's like a comic convention that suddenly has too many people, too many vendors.
Out of 177 projects, 169 of them have funded. And there's 13 days left. There's over 30,000 backers.
That's great.
I got 24 of them, or 27 of them. So
that's awesome.
But anyway, yeah, it's just something, if I could do little campaigns like this just to keep it out there, that's fine. Again, I'm not using a super cheap or inexpensive or cost efficient pin maker for my profit margins and all. I'm not bothering myself with that crunch either.
Right.
If I make 20 cents off each one, I'm okay.
But you want to make these pins anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to make them anyway.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, so might as well, if I get it half funded on this and half funded selling them at the shows and conventions, then my work here is done.
Brilliant.
Go to sleep.
All right.
I will talk to you next Sunday or Saturday.
Sounds great.
Okay. And again, thanks everybody. And may you make all your saving throws.